I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I have been looking forward to it ever since we began planning this summit. The India-United States-Israel relationship, this trilateral relationship, holds great strength. We are capable of doing great things together. We're capable of pushing momentous transcontinental, multinational projects for global good together. Here I am moderating this session, really eager to hear your views, both of your views on some of these projects. What is the US's perspective on why it is essential to connect India to the West?
You made a good point there when you said that the potential for India, the United States, and Israel to do great things together is there. I would even say we are already doing great things. So when you think about the conception of the essential nature of connecting our countries, of connecting Europe, the United States, Israel, all the other countries in the middle of this proposed corridor to India, I think what you're getting at is the potential for India to continue growing into this global leadership role. When the United States thinks about partners for a world that is free and open and prosperous, we think about a growing India. Because a growing India is going to be a force for economic prosperity globally, for stability and peace globally. To reach that, you need to have economies interconnected with balanced and fair trade, with resilient supply chains, with diversity of supply. So when you're thinking about IMEC, or frankly, when you're thinking about any kind of connection of India to these countries along the corridor and to the West and to the United States, what you're talking about is delivering all of those inputs for individual citizens and for a global order that's free and open and prosperous.
Why is it essential and becoming more and more important to connect India to the West and have more corridors of this nature?
I think India has a fantastic role of building new things, game changer in the Middle East. And it's not only about economy right now. It's, I think, bringing the new Middle East into a new era. And I think through the IMEC, and I2U2, and a lot of variety of things like that, India going to bring a peace to the Middle East. Because in the end of the day, especially after the war, we saw that there is a lot of challenges. And I would like to start with something which everybody understands. What's happened in Kashmir, it was heartbreaking. I saw the photos, and it reminds me that we still have to fight and to suffer from terrorism. But it's not only a terrorism against terrorists, it's also against the shipping lines. The result was that because of the war, ships go through the South Africa and go to Europe. Even the Chinese need to use an alternative route. Then to build up a route is, first of all, is the interest of the world, and India is leading for that. And of course, with the power and the leadership of the United States, is essential. We are in the middle, but I would like to speak about it from a very political way. It's going to change the Middle East through India.
I do agree that this corridor, when it comes to realization, will certainly contribute in building solid, resilient supply chains. It may take a decade or maybe a little more to finally have it together, but this is an effort for centuries to come. What are some of the challenges, sir, that you envision in realizing large projects of this nature?
One of the challenges that we have to be aware of is the threat of terrorism. And India and the United States stand together in support to fight terrorism, whether it's in Pahalgam or elsewhere. I think getting that basic security issue resolved will always be essential. Going beyond that then, you've got to look at finance. And one of the biggest issues that the United States has wanted to do is to bring institutional investors into the infrastructure investment world. I know that one of your partners up here partnered with us last year so the Milken Institute and others locally here brought in the first delegation of major U.S. institutional investors from our 50 states, from their pension funds, to invest in Indian infrastructure. And this matches what our own government investment fund, the Development Finance Corporation, has been doing through the Indian National Infrastructure Investment Fund, the NIF, on their master fund for infrastructure. So whether it's activating private sector sources through private equity, institutional investors from the 50 states of the United States, which make their own decisions, or the government national level bodies like the DFC on the US side or the NIF on the Indian side, it's important to get the financing lined up, because a lot of what IMEC will require is a network, not just of ports, but of everything in the rails and the roadways in the hinterlands. I think when we envision what IMEC will be, it's not just the connections over the sea, but it's beyond, and that's looking across the subcontinent, looking at India's neighbors. So investment is one of the biggest ones. Another one that we look at is security on the seas, and the collaboration that we have among India and Israel and the United States, among many other partners, to protect sea lanes and maritime shipping. It's been impressive what India has done, and very much appreciated in the last few years, looking at counter-piracy operations and security operations in the Arabian Sea. That's a great contribution that India has made and really stepped up on the global stage. That's going to continue to be something that we have to look at. And I think the last one that I would focus on is harmonization of the regulations, the procedures, the logistics. How do you make each country along the way talk in its systems, talk to the next in the most efficient way possible? That's part of the way that we can reduce non-tariff barriers, that you can reduce the friction in any trading system. And the more that we can do that, you're going to result in this fair and balanced trade that we all want.
What are some of the challenges that you foresee in bringing to life a large-scale project like this?
First of all, the cooperation of the neighboring countries. And they have to understand eventually, in the end of the day, why it's important for them. If you will not give them the incentive that to be part of this IMEC project, they will get more benefit from that, they will not be part of it. That's the biggest challenge. The second is, I think Mike touched it this way or another. We cannot compete by numbers of containers going through the sea on ships. We cannot, trains cannot take the same numbers. We can compete about the time. And if you, in my dream, and I think that minister spoke about it, within 8 days to bring goods from Mumbai to Europe, in 8 days, it's dramatic. This is a competition about goods that needs to be delivered fast. And for that, Mike, my dear friend, mentioned it, we need a regularization of the processes like India make with United Arab Emirates, with the Maritime. The protocol of moving shipments from India to United, it has to be smooth. It has to be without any security checks. Now, there is a challenge here. What we are going to do in Israel, when it passed through the port of Haifa that Gautam Adani bought 2 years ago, then we have to find technology and we have to find alternative security checks. The third thing, which I think is not less important, it's only one part. We have also route and a junction, and Mike Hankey and I were in Munra Port. It was, I think, a year ago, more than a year, and we spoke together about a junction in Jordan, one towards Egypt and one towards Haifa. Then if you think about the implementation of IMEC is dramatic. I think we spoke about it as well, about it's not only about goods. What's about internet? What's about electricity? To move it through the line. Then these are the biggest challenges in my point of view. Sorry to be long.
Priyam, if I could just come in on one of the points that you made. I wasn't here yesterday. When you talk about which direction a question like financing should it go in a centralized way or should it go in an aligned way? I think that's an unsettled question for us still. I'm not certain that we know the best way forward would be necessarily centralizing everything under a central authority. What I can say is that there's a great potential to align the interests of the countries along the way. And I've been very impressed, like Kobbi's mentioned, whether it's Israel or India, UAE, US, and other partners along the way, in the ability of these partners to align their interests and their actions. That might also be a way to pursue. I think this is one of the discussions that forums like this should hash out in terms of the best way forward in order to balance the political, the economic interests.
Now that we've discussed challenges, let's discuss solutions. Let's discuss short-term solutions, low-hanging fruits, and long-term solutions.
Hope, I think security elements, by the way, not only in Israel, to secure the line of the railway and the exit from ports to the land with the sometimes hostile areas. I mean, terrorists traveling all over the peninsula. It's a big challenge. I think, and I already asked the help of Israeli companies, by the way, also American companies, to build up a system that can identify if it can be sealed, trained. In India, it can be passed, because we don't have any problem with India. Everybody don't have a problem with India. You know that if you send wheat from India, or rice from India, or mango, or oranges from India, from Maharashtra, it's not a problem. The question is what's going to be on the way. Technology can solve the problem. One more thing, I think Mike did a great job in Pune. We started to build up along with us, and we would like to promote this. Minister, I would like to let you know, a cyber center, along with the companies that will try to bring technology and share information. I think it's extremely important. We do it step by step. Then this is a part of the solution that we would like to. And stability. We need stability in the region.
Yeah, my friend Kobbi and I, we've overlapped so much in the things that we've done in the last few years. This Pune-based cybersecurity center of excellence really stands out. And it was one of the ones I was also going to mention as a good low-hanging first step, because one, the threat is great, but also the ability of the participant countries along the corridor between the technology prowess of India, UAE, Israel, the US, to find cybersecurity solutions, I think that makes it a clear low-hanging fruit. And if we get this right, if we get the cybersecurity connections right and the preservation of security in the way that our systems talk to each other, that's going to enable everything else that we do. The other one that I would look at is building the conversations, creating spaces among the government entities and the shipping and logistics companies. They're already working in this space. As the MC said, for thousands of years, people have been shipping across the Arabian Sea. This has happened. Let's talk about specifically how we can reduce frictions and improve resilience and speed and efficiency in the shipping realm. I'm very impressed with what I've seen the Indian government entities do. Everyone from the Director General of Shipping, the various elements of the DG of Shipping, the Indian companies that, and the international companies that have been interested and willing to be part of these discussions. It doesn't need to be a major national level bilateral or multilateral discussion, but rather simply the forum to get the practical people who on a daily basis are moving containers in the same room with the relevant agencies. I think we on the stage here can maybe play part of that convening role and then step back and let them talk. They're going to solve a lot of the problems themselves.
Do you have a final comment on some solutions, or can we, like short term, like if you can list out that these are short-term solutions, like we discussed the virtual trade corridor that India and UAE are already working on for phase 1. Can we realistically look at an expansion of that, or just maybe modify it a little more and expand that data sharing, or is that still far in the future?
You spoke about it in the beginning. I think, and I truly believe that everything comes from up to down. When you see the good connections between the two leaders, the three leaders, between Prime Minister Mody, President Trump, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, they understand each other. They have a very strong bond. Then when it comes from up to down, it will leak down to everybody, to the governments, to the bureaucrats, definitely to the businessmen, and to the people. And eventually the strength of the people, the public opinion, they want to earn more money, they want to export more products, they want to develop a new technology. And then eventually it comes from down to up, from down up to down, and it will bring the change.
These projects like the IMEC and other large, significant geopolitical projects that we're already working on, the three countries, the IMEC in particular, do you see it contributing greatly to improve our people-to-people ties? Do you see the relationship between our countries significantly improving, the trust growing as we keep working on the realization of the corridor?
Well, I think the trust is already high and growing regardless of which field you look at, whether it's on this economic corridor, whether it's on space collaboration, sending the first Indian astronauts up to the space station this year, whether it's on advanced technology. You take a look at the Vice President's visit last week, and he had a wonderful visit. Everything from the people-to-people ties. Take a look at his family. They had such a good time. That personal connection with the Prime Minister was very deep and warm, to the support then for where to take the trade relationship between India and the US, and the affirmation last week that the framework for the terms of reference for that discussion to move forward, that's been settled. You take a look at what we can do on advanced technology. You take a look at where we can collaborate on energy security, and to take a look at issues like pharmaceuticals, undersea cables, defense collaboration. So IMEC is just one of these. It's not an outlier. It's another one of the many areas where the relationship and the trust is growing. When you look at people-to-people connections in an area like IMEC specifically, we process and support the travel and the visas for so many Indian mariners, men and women who keep the merchant marine of the world moving. And we support a lot of those right here out of Mumbai and across all of our mission here in India, because the people involved, highly skilled, highly trained Indians coming out of this country that keep the global trade system working, that's one of our interests, is in making sure that they can be plugged in. And we see it. We see it when they come through and they talk to us in the consulate and they talk about those connections that they've made on an interpersonal basis. I do believe every time that you make one of those connections, you're creating an opportunity for something else to pop up, something that you couldn't even anticipate. So if we can set up the IMEC concept, just think where we can go with that. Think about all of the productive manufacturing and services options that can come.
Not only there are strong people-to-people connections between India and Israel, Maharashtra in particular, we have a special community of Maharashtrian Jews who are very happy and very well settled in Israel. So where does this take the people-to-people connection?
You know, we are brothers. We have the same mother in England. We are more or less the same age. You are older than us in 9 months. You were born in 15 August 1947. We were born in May 1948. 9 months, exactly. Mother England, sorry. But I have to tell you that it's also true to United States, not with Mother India, because they are a little bit, they are the grandfathers, but since 1948, the relations between India and Israel was not the best. I don't want to blame anybody, the underlying policy, the other governments, the relations with the Soviet Union. I don't want to enter to that. But in 1992, I came to India as a young diplomat. I have a lot of hair, and I was blonde. No, I was not blonde, but I have, I think, more hair than today. And I came to India, and I landed here in Bombay. Sorry to call it Bombay, that was the name. The airport was terrible. If you remember, the people who remember the old airport of Bombay. And then I moved to Delhi. Connaught Place was not as today. And when I came back to Mumbai once in a while, Wally was a village. Ceiling was not there. As I said, the airport was terrible. South Bombay was beautiful as today. But I remember one thing, the love towards Israel, because of a variety of things. The values of family, the war against terrorism, the water shortage, the ancient history. And this is exactly what's happened in 1992. I saw and I felt it was a little bit cold relations in 1992 when we have a full diplomatic relation. And then 2014 came. And that was, sorry about the history, a big change. Mody was there as a chief minister in Israel, as a chief minister of Gujarat. And he was impressed with the solution of water. And he didn't forget it. Now, what's happened between India, United States and Israel, the connection, because I think, and I have a lot of conversation about it with Mike, United States and Israel understand the power of India. And I'm not talking about the power of 1.4 billion people. Believe me, Mike and I visiting a lot of the Indian industry. You have a fantastic industry. You can bring a hope and different perspective to the world.
There is great faith, and we've seen after 2014 the significance of the Honorable Prime Minister's interpersonal diplomacy and the strength that it has, and the ability for it to drive such large transcontinental multi-country efforts. And we'll continue to, to grow closer under his under his leadership. So with this, Consul Generals, thank you for your time. Thank you for this wonderful conversation, and I really appreciate your presence here. Thank you so much.